Week one in the NFL, and you know what time it is. It's time to overreact. We talked fantasy football all summer, and now we're quitting on a bunch of guys. This is Pastor Rob.
Could one of y'all pass the gosh darn rock? Hey, yo, I'm trying, I ain't lying, and hosting this will be Brian.
Yeah.
Posting like Kobe Bryant,
Yeah.
flying to see the pie.
Yeah.
Hit the hezzy, we got Jesse, opinions get kinda messy. A fan of out of lefties, from football to racing jet skis. He go silly when he go deep, sheesh, is Zach Zeman. Teaming up with Jack, we stack the whole team, man. Pass the rock, don't stop the shot clock.
Woo.
Smack the slap shot, come on, now let's talk. Pass the, yo, partner, pass the rock. For real.
All right, fellas, we survived almost all of week one game left today. Two of us had a winning week. Two of us had a losing week. Zach, how you feeling? And be honest with me. Tell me the NFC is more than a two-horse race.
Oh, man. I mean, right now, a lot of mixed emotions from yesterday. I'm sure we'll get into it a little bit later. But, I mean, two-horse race, kind of looking at the very least like a three-horse race after some division rivals played last night. But overall, I'm just happy football's back. I'm happy we got to have that whole week one slate, almost all of it's done with. So much football to watch yesterday. It was a lot of fun. Looking forward to the rest of the season.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, I think it's more than a three-horse race, but we'll talk about that later. Jack, for the uniform matchup of week one, tell me what your favorite one was, and was it not San Francisco-Pittsburgh?
I mean, well, it was my favorite uniform matchup, if that's what we're talking about. I mean, come on, you can't go against the classics. But other than that, that game sucked. But yeah, no, it was enjoyable. I would say my favorite overall uniform. I don't know about the matchup, but my favorite uniform was that Vikings throwback. That thing was beautiful. I literally was staring at it every time they came on Red Zone. I'm like, God, that's a sick jersey. So if I were a Viking fan, I would get my hands on that one.
Yeah, I would look. I hate saying anything nice about the Bucks, but the Bucks look pretty clean too. I think anytime you're not wearing the same color pants and shirts like both the Saints and the Titans were, then you're doing well. Jesse, over to you. Be honest with me. Tom Brady looked good enough to put the pads on and get in there for the Pats.
Say what you want. I thought Mac Jones looked great, even though the pick six and the worst effort on a tackle I've ever seen from Mac Jones on Darius Slay. Other than that, he had a pretty good day, and I would love Tom Brady to come back and maybe get some ownership in the Pats. So, it's good to see that he's a Patriot for life. He did his signature jog around the stadium. All of Twitter lost their minds. So now back to week two.
Yeah, well, he can't own the Pats because he already owns part of the Raiders. So, I don't think you can own two teams. Here we go. Stat of the week. This is for later when we talk Survivor. Over half of all Survivor pool entries were eliminated by the end of week 4 every single year. So stop getting cute and just pick the teams that'll win. That's why you go Ravens last week. All right. Moving on, we'll save that for later. Monday night preview, the Buffalo Bills at the New York Jets, 2 straight nights in East Rutherford. And we get another, looks like a terrible weather matchup. So hopefully the Jets are not going to get the Giants mojo, I guess, if you like them. Let's start with some fantasy props here. Breece Hall over under 49.5 scrimmage yards. Over to you, Jesse.
Ooh, as somebody who has Breece Hall on the bench, I want to say over just to see him get in there. I think this is a good line, though. I think it's pretty close. I think Dalvin's going to get most of the work on the ground. I think most of this comes through the air, but I'm going to say over. I think it's a cheeky over, a little 55 to 60 yards for him tonight. But yeah, I don't think more than 20 or 30 on the ground, and then most of it through the air.
Okay. Zach, do you agree or disagree?
I definitely like Breece Hall. I mean, it's his first game back from the ACL tear last season. I really hope to see him get a lot of touches, but I do think Dalvin Cook's going to get his fair share at the same time. I think it is a really solid line, but you know what? I can see the over. I think they will feed him getting back into the swing of things. I like the over here.
You're both wrong. It's the under. All right, over to you, Zach. We'll start with you on this one. Garrett Wilson over under 89.5 receiving yards.
I mean, he's the number one option. I feel like Rodgers is going to be looking his way a lot. Garrett Wilson feels like a mismatch for this Bills defense. I don't know who exactly is going to be stopping him tonight. Give me the over on this.
All right. Jack, rebuttal. 89.5 receiving yards for Garrett Wilson, over under.
No, I'm taking the over. I love Garrett Wilson. I'm a big Garrett Wilson guy. I think the Bills' defense is a little weaker than some people expect, and I'm expecting a big game in Aaron Rodgers' regular season Jets debut. So I think that works well for Garrett Wilson tonight.
You're both right. He gets 92 yards. All right. Next, Jack, Josh Allen, over under 2.5 touchdowns, rushing and passing.
Ooh, rushing and passing makes that more interesting because if it was just passing, I don't know if I would go with the over there. But given his legs, I actually no. I think I'm still going to go with the under. I think he ends up with two. In between rushing and passing in some way. I don't know. I'm expecting big things from the Jets tonight. I don't think the Bills are going to look that great, so I'm going to take the under.
All right. Jesse, rebuttal.
I think it's going to be under. I'm riding the Jets tonight. I don't think the Bills are going to score that many points, and I don't think that I don't think Josh Allen is responsible for 3 touchdowns himself. I think maybe Damian Harris gets in on the goal line or James Cook, but I don't think Josh Allen's getting 3 on that Jets defense.
You're both wrong. He goes over, 1 on the ground, 2 through the air. All right, Jesse, Gabe Davis, over under 59.5 receiving yards.
Under. Gabe Davis actually saw more of Sauce Gardner than Stephon Diggs did last year when they played. So I think absolutely under. And also, why not, right? It's Gabe
Maybe
Davis.
under anyway.
If anybody's starting him, it's under. So.
All right. Rebuttal for you, Zach.
I'm going to flip a coin because that's about the exact same odds of this happening over under. Heads is over, tails is under, and that's going to be my prediction. It is tails. He will be under this week because that's about as good of a shot you have at predicting Gabe Davis's stat line anyways. He will go off against random defenses. He will disappear against random defenses. So I'm going to go with the under simply based off that coin flip.
I think Sauce Gardner gets all up on Stephon Diggs tonight, and Gabe Davis still has the under. I just think it's just not the Gabe Davis game. I don't see this game ever getting, away from either team. I think it's going to be within one score either way, so they're not going to have to chuck it to Gabe Davis. All right, one player you feel confident is going to get in the end zone tonight, Jack.
Ooh, I think I hate to go with guys we already talked about. Garrett Wilson, though. I love Garrett Wilson. He seems like Aaron Rodgers' favorite target, and he's definitely the most talented target. And again, I expect big things from the Jets tonight. So, yeah, give me Garrett Wilson.
Jesse.
Former New England Patriot Damian Harris finds his way in the end zone and ruins everybody's fantasy night.
There's probably some good odds for that if you want to. Zach.
Give me another guy that we talked about. I think Breece Hall can find the end zone.
Oh, no way. No way. I have no confidence
I
in
love
Breece
that
Hall.
take. I think that they don't give him much work, but he gets in around in the red zone. They give him an opportunity. He gets in. Everybody who started him thinks they're a genius. Everyone who benched him thinks they're an idiot, and the world is balanced.
It's a Dalvin Cook game, I think, totally for the first 4 weeks. I think it's Josh Allen. I think he definitely has a rushing touchdown. Not to go against what Jesse was saying with Damian Harris, but I just think this is set up. He's tired of hearing about the Jets, just like the entire country is. He's tired of hearing Jack talk about how bad the Bills are going to be, and he shows up tonight just to do that. All right, score predictions, Zach.
I'm going to go with, probably higher scoring than people are predicting. I'm going to go with 32-26, and mainly because that is a scoregami, and I would love to see that. 2 scoregamis in 1 week. Don't know the last time that's happened. Let's do it. Why not?
What was the first one? 40-0?
No, that was not a scoregami. The first one this week was 25-9.
That was a weird score.
Yeah.
Yes, it was.
25-11 still on the board, I think, as an option. Jack, your score prediction.
I'm going to go with a less creative score. I'm going to go with 28-20. The New York Jets win in Aaron Rodgers' debut on Monday Night Football. Again, big things from the Jets. I think it's going to be a really fun game, but I'm going to take New York to win it.
Okay. Well, you said 28-20. I thought I heard 20-20, and I was like, you can't, or I'm not allowing you to predict a tie.
I would love at some point I'm going to predict a tie on Monday Night Football. It's going to happen. Wait till it's like Steelers.
Well, ties.
Steelers Browns, right?
Ties are much more common now. So
next week is Steelers Browns. I'm totally taking a Steelers Browns tie.
Okay. That'll be That'll be hopeful for a Steeler fan there. Jesse, your prediction.
I got 27-24 Jets. Aaron Rodgers leads a clinical 2-minute drill, and Greg the Leg puts one through the uprights as time expires. There you go.
I went low scoring. I went right at the over-under number, and I have Bills 24, Jets 20. Like I said, I don't think this gets within one score either way, although I might have said that last night, and that got out of hand quickly with the Giants and the Cowboys. But I do think the Bills come out and are impressive. I don't think they're impressive by the end of the season, but let's get to some overreactions. That's where the fun is. So I'm going to go to you. I just have to go to you with this question, Zach. Is it finally the Cowboys' year? One of us predicted the Cowboys to be in the NFC Championship. Thank you very much. That was me. Oh, you did too?
I think I did.
I'm
Good
pretty
job.
sure.
Good job.
I think I have Eagles Cowboys in the.
So did I. So did I.
That would be-
Okay.
that would be
Well,
a
then I take
fantastic
that back.
matchup. That would
Two
be a
of us.
fantastic matchup. Look,
Is it finally the Cowboys' year?
first of all, it is never the Cowboys' year, but I will give credit where credit is due. That is a Super Bowl winning defense. That defense is absolutely real, is absolutely legit. They looked phenomenal against the New York Giants this past Sunday night. Their offense, though, left some things to be desired. I feel like we didn't get to see enough of them. Not that impressed by the offensive showing. And to be fair, the Giants just look completely unprepared on all sides of the ball. So we do have to call into question this whole performance a little bit. But if one thing's certain, that is a Super Bowl winning defense. If it was just the defense, then yeah, all right. Like clearly the winners of week one, clearly the best team right now in the NFL. But I really need to see what the offense can do more of because, a lot of people, people were starting Dak in fantasy. He had 4 points. 4 points in a 40-point win. I don't know how you do that.
You all were calling me Stephen A. Smith last night when I was like, this defense is like unexplainable. Like they were so good. I think part of the issue for the Cowboys offense was early on, there was like this 25 real minute stretch where they didn't have the ball because they blocked the field goal for a touchdown. Then there was an interception for a touchdown and the Cowboys hadn't even had the ball yet. So not to say they still should have been able to do something throughout the game. And it was super disappointing, but I don't think you judge them yet just because that was such a weird game that was totally downhill. Over to you, Jack. Is this the Cowboys' year?
Yeah, I agree with everything that you guys have said about the defense. Unbelievable performance. They are one of the best defenses of the NFL. I think that's something that is absolutely going to continue throughout the year. I thought the special teams was also really impressive. They just had, of course, the big block field goal, but I thought throughout the game, as far as Turpin, getting them in great field position on pretty much every kickoff, it felt like they were dominating that facet as well. The offense was honestly a little bit concerning. I didn't think it looked great. It was fine, but you also have to remember that this is now a Mike McCarthy led offense rather than last year was Kellen Moore. So it is a bit of a different look. And for it to have been a 40-0 game, and that was the Dak Prescott performance that we got, I'm pumping the brakes a little bit on the Cowboys hype train because of that. But at the same time, they looked great. They beat the living hell out of the Giants. So that's a big plus for them. And as far as whether or not it's their year, again, you're right. Super Bowl winning defense. The offense, I still need to see more.
All right, over to you, Jesse. How legit is Brock Purdy? Is it just that he beat the Steelers, or is he legit?
He's legit. This weekend to me cleared the doubt of any Niners fan of what's the QB situation going to be. It's definitely not going to be Sam Darnold. Brock Purdy might be having the best start to a career of any quarterback drafted like outside of the first round, or maybe not outside of the first 3 rounds that I can remember in the last couple of years. Jalen Hurts was a guy who was second round, and you got a lot of other guys coming out the first round who've had great starts. Justin Herbert, great start, but Mr. Irrelevant, who is 6-0 and has thrown at least 2 touchdown passes in all 6 of those starts in the regular season. He's undefeated in the regular season. The only game he's lost in his career is the NFC Championship game, which he played with like half a body, and Josh Johnson was in for the other half of it. So I've loved everything I see. His mechanics look great. His accuracy was phenomenal. He has a great chemistry with Ayuk, and if you have Brandon Ayuk over Deebo Samuel, boy, are you lucky. He's got all the weapons in the world to succeed and the best defense in the league behind him. So I think he is absolutely legit. And if he can just stay healthy and keep doing what he's doing, the sky is the limit for this team.
Zach, do you agree?
I mean, I had my doubts about Purdy throughout last season. Just like, the system's been dumbed down. Like, oh, they're not pulling out all the stops of a Shanahan offense for Purdy. They're simplifying it for him. But now, entering year 2 of the Brock Purdy experiment, he does look legit. I totally agree. He had an absolute clinic against a Steelers defense that the media decided to hype up for God knows what reason. Yeah, he's absolutely legit. And I'm with Jesse. I mean, I can't think of another late round quarterback that's been having this type of success anytime recently since Tom Brady. Even, I mean, this is a very similar story to that, except the starter gets knocked out, you call up the backup, and he flourishes. We haven't seen a story like this since Tom Brady. So, I mean,
Yeah,
I don't know.
I hate to use.
I don't know if he's the next Tom Brady.
No,
I'm not going to go that far.
I actually have a great comparison. It's Dak Prescott. He was kind of like this in his rookie year. He was a 4th round pick, so not that highly touted, and he came in when Romo went down. And the Cowboys are really good that year. I think Dak ended up either winning rookie of the year or second to Zeke, and the Cowboys were a really good team. That's what it sort of reminds me of, and I also think that's sort of the career arc I can sort of see for Brock Purdy. I think I could sort of see him getting to around that Dak Prescott level as his ceiling, like not an elite quarterback, but like a borderline top 10 guy that you can certainly win with if you have a really good defense and the incredible amount of weapons that they have, and obviously the coach at the top. So I think Dak is actually a really good comparison.
I was actually going to say Russell Wilson as well, because another 4th round pick that just kind of came out and did what he had to do. So I made 2 comments at my last fantasy football draft that I got a lot of flack for. Number 1 was that Sam Darnold would take the 49ers to the Super Bowl after Brock Purdy either got injured or benched. So I'm not obviously going to root for an injury on that one. The other one was that Jordan Love would have more passing yards than Aaron Rodgers this year. And let me just say, Jordan Love had a good start. That's all I'm going to say. We'll talk about him in a second. The Rams, are they good? I'm going to go straight to you, Jack, since you are a Rams employee at some point this summer.
Yeah, I thought they were terrible during training camp. I was there every day for 3 weeks. I thought they looked awful. But here we are, week 1. They play the Seahawks, who I think we all thought were a good team, and they dominated. I mean, I don't think there's any other way to put it. I thought Matthew Stafford looked incredible in that game. His receivers really stepped up. Puka Nacua, the rookie, looked great. Tutu Atwell probably had the best game of his career so far. And Van Jefferson, who were all like, oh, yeah, he could actually take a step up and be the number 1. He actually kind of disappeared a little bit, but he looked okay. This defense was much better than expected. The Rams all around played a really good game against what we think is one of the better teams in the NFC. So I'm sort of rethinking picking the Rams as the second worst team in the NFL preseason. But at the same time, it is only 1 week. I'm not going to go crazy after one singular week. They also need to keep Matthew Stafford healthy for a whole season, which has been a challenge as of late. So there's still a lot of what ifs with the Rams. There's a lot of red flags, but good start. I'm excited to see where it goes.
All right, Jesse. So are the Rams as actually good, or are the Seahawks just terrible?
I have no idea, man. I thought the Seahawks were going to be like the 5 seed in the NFC, and I thought the Rams. I have an ongoing bet that the Rams will not win 7 games, and it's off to a bad start. So I have no idea what to say about this game. Nobody could have seen this coming, especially because Tyler Higbee didn't have a good game. Cam Akers didn't have a good game. But then you have a 2-touchdown game from Kyron Williams. You have Puka Nacua being the number 1 waiver ad in every league going forward. And for anybody like me who picked up Van Jefferson thinking they got a steal, boy, did you think wrong. So, yeah, I mean, I was honestly more surprised by the Rams defense and how much of I don't want to say it's a one-man wrecking crew with Aaron Donald, but I was just shocked. I mean, I can't name 5 people on the Rams defense, and they absolutely shut down a very good Seahawks offense with tons of playmakers everywhere. So I was just super impressed. And I guess at the end of the day, it's still Sean McVay running the team. So absolutely.
Yeah,
brilliant.
The Seahawks had 12 yards in the second half total.
Are you kidding me?
I'm not. It's insane.
Also, the biggest thing I noticed was that every Rams drive, every single one, I think, in the second half was over 5 minutes long, and the Seahawks couldn't keep the ball for more than 40 to 50 seconds per drive. It was just like they had the ball for less than 3 or 4 minutes in the second half, like just no clock control.
Yeah, yeah. Disappointing start for Smith and Jigba. I don't know what DK Metcalf was thinking. He was just like, starting to smoke dudes in the second half for no reason. So, over to you, Zach. What's wrong with the Chiefs? Can they overcome whatever this wide receiver room is?
I mean, there were two major things wrong with the Chiefs. They didn't have Travis Kelce and they didn't have Chris Jones earlier today. They got back Chris Jones for the rest of the year at the very least. So their defense issues are pretty much solved because he was their biggest glaring hole against the Lions. And Travis Kelce has 10 days to recover and boost that receiving core. Now, I still think they should go out, look on the market, try to find someone to replace Kadarius Toney because that performance was all-time bad. But other than that, I mean, Mahomes' number one guy is Kelce. So, as soon as Kelce comes back, I feel a lot more confident in the Chiefs. I feel like they're going to be the same old Chiefs that we all have come to expect. I really feel like it's going to be smooth sailing after a week or two. Just got to wait for Jones to get on the field and Kelce to come back.
Yeah, well, Kadarius Toney had a terrible week, but it was still better than Drake London and T. Higgins combined. So,
yeah, thank goodness I kept Drake London on my bench, unsurprisingly.
Yeah. Jack, okay, this team gets the players that Zach's talking about back. Are you still confident? There's going to be a time Mahomes has to throw a ball to a receiver. So, do we feel confident that they are the absolute number one AFC seed right now?
I'm still 100% confident. I honestly, I think that their issues last week were the bigger problem was the Chris Jones issue than the Travis Kelce / wide receivers issue. That defense without Chris Jones might be a bottom 10 unit in the league, and with Chris Jones might be a top 10 unit in the league. I think that's how important of a player that he is for what they do defensively. And just getting him back in the building, getting him on the field is going to be so huge for them moving forward this year. And then as far as the receivers go, just having the safety blanket of Travis Kelce just elevates all the other options. When you put a guy like that on the field, that's a guy that is going to need to be doubled on every single play, even though at the tight end position, that's something that's really difficult to do because that's just not – I mean, you can't double him with corners in the secondary. You have to put a linebacker on him, but he's going to cook a linebacker because he's Travis Kelce. So he is just a matchup nightmare, which will just give so much more space for the other receivers. And I think with more space, you can sort of count on them to be maybe a little bit more reliable in some of these situations. So no, I'm not worried about the Chiefs at this moment in time. Now, if those receiver issues continue more later in the season, that's a different conversation. But after one game, I'm not overreacting the Chiefs. And I think Patrick Mahomes could do more than enough to carry this team to be the favorites in the AFC.
Yeah, I just agree with, of course, it was a take I had in the preseason that this will be the first year the Chiefs have to play on the road in the playoffs. And I think that's going to be an issue for them just dealing with that. I know they can deal with it, but they have never done it in the Mahomes era. And then secondly, I cannot wait for the Dolphins-Chiefs playoff matchup. I don't care where it is. That's going to be a get your popcorn ready. Not just what's going on the field, but just Tyreek going back to play the Chiefs is just going to be – it's going to be a good one. All right, yeah. Jesse, to you. Is Jordan Love for real, and is Justin Fields garbage?
Yeah. Justin Fields, I will stay on this. Dude cannot throw. And I don't know what to say. I mean, the Packers secondary is good, and Jair Alexander made DJ Moore his son on Sunday. But, man, Justin Fields he's absolutely a non-threat in the passing game. Like, it would be free money if he had an over-under line of 200 yards, smack the under every single game. I don't get it. They've addressed the help of he didn't have anyone to throw to. I mean, Darnell Mooney, Chase Claypool, and DJ Moore is 10 times better than the Chiefs receiving room. So I don't know what you really want there. The running backs look good, honestly, and that's all the Bears have is a running game. So, yeah, Justin Fields is garbage. And Jordan Love looked great. I mean, he looked really comfortable. All of his teammates are rooting for him, and they all seem to have a lot of confidence in him. He and Romeo Doubs had some nice connection on Sunday, and with Christian Watson is back as soon as next week. I mean, Packers could definitely squeak up there in the rankings of 6 or 7 seed and maybe jump the Seahawks and other teams that we thought were pretty good. The Vikings. I think the Packers might be the clear number 2 team in this division.
I think they have something to say for being the number 1 team in this division, especially if Aaron Jones isn't really hurt.
Yeah.
So.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, over to you, Jesse. Let's do some waiver wire.
All right, so we got week 1 waiver wire must adds. All right, Jack, coming to you first. Gus Edwards or Justice Hill?
I actually think generally I would stay away from this backfield. I think it's too murky, and I think there's other good running back options available. But if I'm picking between these two, I think I would lean Gus Edwards. I think what we saw from Justice Hill this past week was very touchdown inflated. I didn't think his non-goal line carries looked so great. And I don't think he actually even had that many opportunities outside of the goal line. So maybe he is the goal line back going forward. But what we know about Gus Edwards, I mean, this guy, we call him the Gus Bus for a reason. The guy is a tank. I can't imagine they're not going to be using him in goal line situations. And I think just overall, he's the better running back. So I'm going to bet on what I've seen in the past from Gus Edwards when J.K. Dobbins goes down. And yeah, give me the Gus Bus.
That's the hard thing, though, is that in the past, when J.K. Dobbins goes down, Gus Edwards is the number 1 waiver ad in every league, everywhere.
Yep.
And then he kind of just disappears for the rest of the season, and the Ravens, throw the ball or do other things. So I don't really know.
How many fantasy championships do you remember winning and you cherish it because you remember the Ravens running back you picked up or the Pats running back you picked up? 0.
0 is the right answer. All right, Brian, coming to you.
Maybe.
Brian, coming to you. Kenneth Gainwell or Rashawn Johnson?
Ooh, I thought you were going to give me the other question. Sweet. Okay, I think I'm going Kenneth Gainwell if I have to pick one of these two guys. I actually really like Rashawn Johnson for late in the season, but Kenneth Gainwell, for whatever reason, just had the lion's share of the touches. And I think you just got to ride that train if you need to take a flyer on somebody. Maybe it was just a week 1 thing they saw in the matchup and they thought he could have some success against the Pats, but that was a high percentage of touches in the running back room in Philly, and I think I'm rolling with him.
Yeah, Zach, I think he was the only back to get more than two touches or something in the game.
He was. It was very weird, and they're like, they're going to try to address that for Thursday, but at the same time, Gainwell's looked like the number 1 guy since the end of last season. I do like that. I like the Gainwell pick for that.
All right, I'm going to give you 2 running backs that do not play for your team. Kyron Williams or Joshua Kelly, the LA backs.
Yeah, I mean, both coming into the season, we're not highly touted running backs. Both in week 1 got way more touches than people expected. So at this point, I'm looking at which offensive Joshua Kelly over Kyron Williams.
And with the potential injury of Austin Eckler, I don't know if that's real or not. But
that's also a factor. But even looking besides that, I would still go with Joshua Kelly because I do think that the Chargers overall have a better offensive line. If Austin Eckler even suffers 1 week, 1 week he doesn't play, you need to be running to get Joshua Kelly then.
Yeah, and let's be real. The Rams are coming back down to earth against the 49ers next week. And I think all of these unbelievable pickups we're going to make for the Rams are going to be duds. So, just a quick thought.
Yeah, the Rams, they get the Niners next week, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Good luck. All right, let's move on to wide receivers. So these are the wide receivers that you need to add in every fantasy league. We got number 1, Jack, Puka Nacua or Rashid Shaheed?
Give me Puka, man. Puka looked so good last week. And I know that what Brian just said about the Rams and then crashing back down to earth after this big week, then they're going to go play the 49ers. That's very possible. But if there's one of these Rams players that we're talking about that I think could sustain that success, it's Puka. He's a rookie. I thought he looked really good in this game. I've seen him in college at BYU. He looked pretty solid there. I just think that he seems like that wide receiver 1 until Cooper Kupp comes back, which we know is at least 4 weeks, potentially more afterwards. And as if Matthew Stafford's going to play like that, I mean, you're going to want his number 1 guy. So give me the rookie. I'll go with Puka.
I like it. And Brian, any love for Rashid Shaheed there?
I think that's an insane take by Jack. I think Puka Nacua is going to kill your team through slow death. the rest of the year if you decide to put him in the lineup. If you're putting him in the lineup, you're in a seriously terrible situation. Rashid Shaheed is a must add because this team is all about Mike Thomas underneath, Chris Olave over the top, and they use Chris Olave a ton out of the backfield, which I thought was like, hey, remember Alvin Kamara? This is what he could do. And then Rashid Shaheed had all the big catches. He had the one touchdown. He had another deep catch on like 3rd and 1 with a minute and a half to go, where Derek Carr just said, "Let's go." And so I couldn't want to run farther away from Puka Nacua.
Is this just going to be what, the new Deontay Harris, Traquan Smith, random third string Saints receiver that you pick up and pray for a touchdown?
Well, here, let me pull up his stats because it was not a pray for a touchdown day, although he ended up with a touchdown. Let's see. He had 5 catches for 89 yards and a touchdown. So, I think in the end, he ends up, somewhere in the 800 yards receiving, probably 5-ish catches, 4 to 5 catches a week and 8 touchdowns. So I think he's definitely in wide receiver 3-4 territory. But you pick him up now, and there are going to be weeks where you can play him pretty easily.
All right, let's go on.
I just want to say one more thing about Puka.
Go ahead.
He had 15 targets in that game, and I know that's an insanely high number, and it probably won't stay at that level. But if he even gets 10 targets per game going forward, that's a guy that needs to be rostered. And Rashid Shaheed, like Jesse was saying, while he's talented and while the way the Saints used him in that game was pretty good, I think that it's possible that he's one of those Saints receivers, like Jesse was saying, that, you start him here and there and pray for a touchdown, but maybe not a week-to-week guy. If Puka's getting 15 targets a game or even 10, that's a guy that could potentially be in your lineup week-to-week.
Now that the Seahawks also have film on him because nobody had any film on this guy, I don't think he's getting 15 targets. He's definitely not getting 15 next week. I think the Seahawks were like, we're not letting Higbee beat us. And then that's what happened. So we'll see.
Yeah, considering the Steelers had like 1 yard in the first half, good luck to Puka Nacua next week. And if your league does kick return yards, maybe you take Shaheed there. But don't forget, in 2 weeks, Alvin Kamara is going to be coming back and taking a lot of that work. So tight ends, waiver wire tight ends for this week. I'm going to give you 3 names. Tell me which one you like best. Hayden Hurst, Zach Ertz, Hunter Henry. Zach.
It's Hunter Henry by a mile. I mean, I'm not going to trust Zach Ertz when Dobbs is going to be throwing to him for the first 9 weeks of the season. And I can't trust a tight end who doesn't have the self-awareness to give his rookie quarterbacks first ever touchdown pass back to him and instead just chucks it into the stands. On top of all of that, Hunter Henry had a really good game, not only just for fantasy, just in general. He had a fantastic game against a very good Eagles defense. Very impressed by Hunter Henry. I would definitely pick him up out of these 3 guys.
Yeah, I was surprised that Hunter Henry was undrafted in almost all of my fantasy leagues this year and just kind of flew under the radar when, to me, he's 100% better than guys like Dalton Schultz and a lot of other names that are in the tight end landscape. But shocked that, even Sam Laporta, Luke Musgrave, Jake Ferguson, all these rookies going over a guy like Hunter Henry, who, I feel like he could be a Pro Bowl level tight end at least a few years ago. And he's really great in the Patriots. And, Patriots tight ends, man, there's just something about him. So, Jack.
Ertz had 6 catches for 21 yards.
Like it's just machine.
Gotta love Josh Dobbs. Gotta love Josh Dobbs.
It's unbelievable.
All right, Jack, what about you?
Yeah, I hate agreeing with Zach, but I agree with Zach. Hunter Henry had a great game. I think he actually ended up being the tight end 1 fantasy this week, which is pretty impressive. But 5 receptions, 56 yards, and a touchdown on 6 targets. I mean, that's pretty good for a tight end. The key with Hunter Henry is always health. He's definitely one of the more injury-prone guys in the league. But as long as he's healthy and he's getting that sort of target share and he's putting up those numbers, that's absolutely a guy that should be rostered. And God knows tight end can be a struggle sometimes. So, yeah, I'll throw my dart at Hunter Henry for sure.
Brian, anything different?
It's all Henry in this one. I wanted to make the case for Ertz, and then I looked up that stat, 6 for 21. And I don't want anybody in the Panthers offense except for Oh, I'm blanking on the running back's name now.
Miles
Miles
Sanders.
Sanders.
Miles Sanders, and even that I'm lukewarm about. I think that it's just going to be a terrible experiment all year long. It doesn't mean I don't believe, in their quarterback going forward, but this year is going to be tough for them. And next week you got the Saints, and that defense played. So I don't want any part of Hayden Hurst.
Well, I realized that I skipped over some of our receivers here. So going back to you, Zach, Kendrick Bourne or Romeo Doubs?
Ooh, I mean, to me, there's one clear answer here, and that's actually Kendrick Bourne, only because Christian Watson not playing. I mean, that's their wide receiver one most weeks. Romeo Doubs had a very impressive week with 14 fantasy points, but I expect that number to be reduced greatly once Christian Watson comes back, either this week or the following week. Once Watson is back, Romeo Doubs' production is going to go down. So therefore, I think you already have you pretty much know what you're getting with Kendrick Bourne. You know what role he has in this Patriots offense. You don't have that same certainty with Romeo Doubs. So I'm going with Kendrick Bourne every time here.
Anything different from the peanut gallery?
No, yeah, it's also Kendrick Bourne for me. I think the most blasphemous thing I heard over the weekend in general was Tony Romo calling Kendrick Bourne a wide receiver one. But other than that, he had a great game. He looked like the number one target on the Patriots. And yeah, I mean, if he's going to be the number one target, that's a guy that needs to be rostered. So I like what Zach said about Doubs and Christian Watson coming back. So yeah, give me Kendrick Bourne.
Well, hey, he already has more touchdowns this season than he did all of last year. So it's he's off to a good start.
I'd also just keep an eye on Kayshon Boutte. I mean, he had a couple flashes yesterday. I would just, especially if you're in a deeper league, I think he's worth just rostering. But
I have no clue what you just said.
What?
I have no idea the name you just said.
It's the LSU guy.
He's a rookie LSU wide receiver, 6th-round pick for the Patriots, the team you root for. Let's see, what were his stats yesterday? Oh, he didn't end up getting a receipt.
Yeah.
He did not get a receipt.
No,
yeah.
he had one drop that was.
Oh, he had the close play on 4th down late in the game, but they overturned it and
right.
The ball was given to the Eagles. Anyway, I kind of like these receiving options for a Mac Jones style quarterback, and I think as you go along, they're going to get a lot stronger. And Hunter Henry will be the best, but I think these young receivers will step up. I think the Patriots are still very interesting.
All right, so we just talked a lot about waiver wire picks. Who are you dropping off your fantasy team in week one? It's already week one. Somebody's got to go. So I'm going to start this list off by saying Deion Jackson sucks, okay? 18 touches, 1.3 fantasy points. That is less than 1 point per touch, and it's honestly impressive to be able to do that. I mean, he had like 25 yards in the game, 2 fumbles lost. Anthony Richardson's the only one who can run the ball on this team. And I don't know how they calculate projections on NFL fantasy. They had him projected at like 14 points, okay? Never in my life again. I got screwed by Deion Jackson last year. I got screwed by him in week one already. I don't care if he gets 25 carries a game for the rest of the season. He's off my team. He's somebody else's problem. I'm done. Jack, all you.
Oh my God. I honestly, I agree. I would get rid of anything to do with the Colts backfield. I think it was a complete mess, and I think it's going to continue to be a complete mess until the Jonathan Taylor situation is resolved in some way. But I also, my pick will be Dalton Schultz because he had 2 catches for 4 yards, and he was a guy that I kind of like this year as a, late round tight end guy. I never like to take tight ends early. So I was waiting, picking Dalton Schultz. I thought he was going to be consistent and solid. He looked like crap this week. And the reason why I want to get rid of him is that there seem to be a lot of good tight end options between Henry and Hayden Hurst and Zach Ertz and potentially Luke Musgrave if he's on your wire. Sam Laporta is probably available in some leagues. Jake Ferguson literally just looked like a better version of Dalton Schultz. So, and also on Wisconsin, Jake Ferguson. But no, I'm getting rid of Dalton Schultz. They're way better tight end options.
Yeah, agreed. Honestly, it's shitty because Dalton Schultz is a guy who should have the lion's share of the targets, and there's not really that much other competition and rookie quarterback. There's a lot of good things to make that work, but He also was going up against the Ravens, who are like a top 5 defense against tight ends and have probably the best linebacker group in the NFL. So maybe things turn around for CJ Stroud, but they didn't even get in the end zone. So it's looking rough.
I can't believe he was draftable to begin with. I mean, all those things you just listed: rookie quarterback, terrible team. That was not a guy
They
I was
should be
going
playing
for.
from behind and throwing a bunch every game, and it's
I
Nico
guess.
Collins and Robert Woods on the outside. It's nothing exciting.
But Deion Jack, like going after a Colts running back, yuck. That's not Jonathan Taylor.
All right, wise guy, who's your drop of the week?
Marquise Brown, Hollywood, get rid of him. I can't imagine anybody would want to have drafted him. I heard a report today that Kyler might be back mid-season. I still wouldn't take him. I'd still get rid of him. You can't trade him because nobody wants him. He would be my first cut.
All right, Zach.
So I have a few honorable mentions before I get to my honestly pretty reasonable cut. Isaiah Pacheco, I'm giving you one more week to not, be completely terrible. Only, 9.4 points, a little underwhelming for the Chiefs running back. Need to see something from there. George Pickens, I'm this close to cutting you. This close because it is a Steelers offense that is just not going to impress. Another week of not playing well. He's probably off the team. Could be off this week, depending on how the waiver wire shapes up to be. He's probably my number one for my money league team that's going to be going. And Dalton Kincaid is playing for a roster spot tonight because Travis Kelce is injured. So Dalton Kincaid, impress me, make me not drop you for Hunter Henry. But my level-headed cut of the week is going to be Rashad Penny. Some people may have taken him as like a late round flyer. I see no reason to keep him right now. He was a healthy scratch week 1. It's a running back by committee for the Eagles. They mentioned how they want to get DeAndre Swift more touches. So that's 2 running backs on the Eagles, Kenneth Gainwell and DeAndre Swift, who are expected to get way more touches than Rashad Penny. So I'm dropping Rashad Penny.
They want to give him more than 4 touches. That's a good strategy, I think.
Yeah, very good strategy by
5,
the Eagles to actually give their decent running backs more touches. Yes, but Rashad Penny has not been mentioned anywhere. So,
yeah, I was shocked to see him out on Sunday. Really didn't know why they would healthy scratch him there. I totally agree, though. I was staying away from the Eagles' backfield as much as I possibly could, and it's not looking like it's getting any better at all. So that's enough of week 1. And why don't we move on to week 2? So we got a couple games coming up. Let's go through our highest and lowest scoring games of week 2. I'll go first. I think week 2 has got some pretty high scoring games, but Seahawks Lions. They had a game last year that I think there was like 1,000 total yards in that game, and it was 30, 40 points on either side. The Seahawks defense did not look like it could stop anything last night. And the Lions defense actually looked a lot better against Kansas City, but this is a Seahawks team with actually quite a few more weapons than the Chiefs. And I know for a fact that DK Metcalf can catch a ball. So I think that this game is going to be very high scoring, easily in the 30s. And the lowest has got to be Commanders Broncos. That has 16-13 or 16-11 or something weird written all over it. So Commies Broncos definitely going to be the lowest. Brian, over to you.
I wanted to pick Commies Broncos and an 11-11 tie, which I believe would be Scorigami, but I didn't because you picked them. So I'll start with my lowest. I think it's going to be Jets Cowboys. I think we're going to see a Jets defense tonight that's going to be much improved. I think the Bills will score on them, but I think the test for Dak Prescott, like we said all in the beginning of the show, is going to be week 2 and on, and that Jets defense is going to be tough. That Cowboys defense we already saw. And I think Aaron Rodgers better get some young pills if he's going to be running all day from that defense. So I think that could be a low score. And then high score, I'm going Packers-Falcons, which is a little bit of a zag. Obviously, the Packers showed us that they could show up. I think they will score a lot of points for sure. And the Falcons are going to have more than 18 pass attempts in a game. I don't know if that was game script, like how the game just went, or they were planning on it. And I know Desmond Ridder doesn't give you a lot of confidence throwing the ball, but they're going to have to try to stay up with the Packers. So I think that could be a sneaky high-scoring game. And I don't want the Falcons to do well, but I am hoping for a little success for Drake London and Kyle Pitts.
All right, Zach.
So I'm sticking with the same high scoring game as Brian. I'm going Packers Falcons as well. Very excited about those two offenses in general. But moving on to the lowest scoring, I really want to see Giants Cardinals just be absolutely miserable. I mean, the Cardinals defense scored their first touchdown of the season. The Giants looked absolutely terrible last night. I don't think this will end up being the lowest scoring. I think the Giants actually do figure out how to run a football team for once. But if things stayed the same, I would love to see this be an absolute tank bowl week 2. Just an absolute disaster class in the scoring department. I would love to see it.
All right, Jack, take us home.
All right, I'll start with my lowest scoring game. Browns Steelers, Monday Night Football next week, one of the 2 Monday Night Football games. And it's going to be a classic AFC North slugfest. I mean, just you know exactly what it's going to be. It's going to be a defensive battle. It's going to be one of the most boring games you could possibly watch. It's going to be like watching paint dry. And the final score will be a 17-17 tie. So give me that as the lowest scoring game of the week. And then the highest scoring game of the week, I'm going to go with Chiefs Jaguars. I think the Chiefs bounced back from a rough week last week. I still don't think their defense is 100% perfect in the first week back with Chris Jones. It's probably better than it was against the Lions, but I still think there's going to be a little bit of shakiness there. And also the Jaguars looked like a pretty high-powered offense this past week with a somewhat questionable defense, and that usually tends to add up to a good scoring game. So give me Chiefs Jags.
That's a good one.
All right, so let's close out today's episode with our survivor picks for week 2. Let's review week 1 though, as 35% of the Lost Tribe League lost their first life this past week. Most of y'all picked the Chiefs. I don't know why you did. It was an easy underdog matchup. And who picks the Chiefs in week 1? Come on, that's just lame. Okay, so I had the Jaguars. Closed it out. Gave me a little bit of a scare. I really thought the Colts were going to haunt me in Survivor for the 3rd year in a row. But my Survivor pick for week 2 is the New York Football Giants. I don't care that they just lost by 40 points on primetime television. They're playing the Cardinals. Tells you everything you need to know about the Cardinals. You can lose by 40 one week and still be like a 6.5 point favorite the next. So I think the Giants are a great team to slot in here, who's not a very good team that you're going to want to use the rest of the year, but they're playing the Cardinals, and that should be your Survivor strategy. So lock me in some Danny Dimes.
You're falling into the trap. I know we have an extra life in this league, but you're falling into the trap. You're getting cute.
It's not
or
cute.
You're chasing the Cardinals.
If the Cardinals beat the Giants, I have no words for Brian Dable.
There's nothing the Giants put on the tape yesterday that makes me feel confident about picking them to do anything.
Fair.
I'm not saying you're wrong. It's a good pick. Let's follow the Cardinals. I get it. But that was bad.
I don't know. If you watched Josh Dobbs play in week 1,
I didn't.
If you saw even a second of it, there's good reason.
So you'd put your life on the line saying the Giants are going to win?
Oh, absolutely not. But I'm saying I would put my life on the line saying Josh Dobbs will lose.
That's not a bad bet. And I'm just going to say that Giants game was over before it started. I mean, I can't assess either team, honestly. Like, I have no words for the Cowboys offense because Dak threw like 20 passes in the entire game, and they just didn't have to try. All they had to do was milk the clock and score where they can. And as the Giants, they're not playing their typical style of football when they're down 26-0 before they can even blink. So I think that the Giants are going to bounce back next week. But man, I have lost all confidence in them being a playoff team going forward. But they can still beat the Cardinals.
The Giants are the second favorite team for next week right now, behind the Bills against the Raiders.
Yeah.
All right, Jack, who's your survivor pick for next week?
Yeah, well, speaking of the Bills, that's definitely going to be my pick this week because I screwed myself last week. I tried to get cute. I picked the Seahawks to beat the Rams and bit me in the butt. So here we are. Now I'm down to my last life, and I need to play it safe. And I think the absolute lock of the week is the Buffalo Bills. I think there's a decent chance that they come into this game 0-1. There's no way that Josh Allen lets them start the season 0-2, especially against the Raiders, who, they did beat the Broncos. I didn't think they looked that great. They did. Again, it was just the Broncos. I think the Bills are going to annihilate the Raiders in week 2, and I'm going to definitely stay on the safe side and take Buffalo.
Zach, take us home.
All right. So last week did not do well. I really thought it'd be a simple matchup going with the Vikings over the Buccaneers, but 1 p.m. Kirk Cousins did not show up. It was primetime Kirk Cousins who showed up in the 1 p.m. slot, so did not work out for me. Going to try to get a bounce back, picking a team that showed everything on tape that makes me want to believe that they'll have a great week 2. I'm going with the Chargers over the Titans this week. They lose a close one against the Dolphins. Definitely primed for a bounce back win against a Titans squad that I do not think is that good. So I'm going to go with the Chargers.
That Titans defense that I watched live and in person is really good. Ryan Tannehill's terrible. And they didn't give the ball to Derrick Henry enough, but
He lost.
I definitely do not trust them going across the country almost to play at Tennessee. That's just scary as hell to me. I'm going 49ers. I looked at the 49ers, the Eagles, and the Cowboys only. The Cowboys are playing the Jets. The Eagles are playing on Thursday against Minnesota. I think the Eagles win, but I don't feel as good as 49ers against the Rams. But that Chargers team worries me in week 2 going to Tennessee because it's just like a setup for Mike Vrabel to rip your throat out.
Can we just take a moment to acknowledge that Tajay Spears outsnapped Derrick Henry in the game?
Yep.
Why?
He's got the potential to be a league winner. I mean, when he played at Tulane, he was just a guy, anytime he touched the ball, he could take it to the house. Now, he didn't get a lot of opportunities with those snaps yesterday, but, I agree that he's an interesting player to see if you can stash.
All right. Well, that takes us to the end of week 1. One last thing before we leave off today. Who are you most excited for tonight in the game?
Aaron Rodgers. I mean, come on. Like I know that's the easy pick, but I'm just so excited to see how. Like, I've been hyping this Jets team up since the thought first popped in my head last November when the Packers were struggling and Jordan Love came in the second half of that Eagles game and looked pretty good. That's when I first said the Jets should trade for Aaron Rodgers and they're Super Bowl contenders. So here we are, almost a full year later at this point, and it's finally coming into reality. I'm so excited to see it.
There you have it.
Zach, any rebuttal? Because I would love to rebut if you're not in.
Yeah, I'm not as excited for Aaron Rodgers in tonight's game. I'm more intrigued by Josh Allen going against this Jets defense, arguably one of the best defenses in the league. This could be a really important game for Josh Allen. I know it's only week 1, and week 1 barely matters, but this could be a real telltale sign to see, how are the Bills going to start? Are the Jets able to stop a, pretty solid Bills offense, arguably a top 10 offensive unit? It's going to be a really important game for both Josh Allen and the Bills offense and the Jets defense. I'm looking forward to that matchup more than anything else.
I agree with Zach. I'm looking forward more to see how the Bills respond because they're kind of being held up as paper champions. I'm really excited next week to see Aaron Rodgers go against that Dallas defense because I do not believe that the Jets are legitimate Super Bowl contenders, and I can't wait to watch that team implode from the inside because Aaron Rodgers doesn't have the patience for all these young guys that he thinks he likes right now. But tonight, I think it's all about Diggs against Sauce.
I'm just hoping that somebody comes out and cements themselves as a contender in the AFC because honestly, nobody except the Dolphins convinced me that they can contend this past weekend. The Ravens sucked. The Bengals sucked, even though the Ravens won. The Chiefs looked pretty bad. And if the Bills come out tonight and flop, it is generally open season. And the Patriots could win the Super Bowl for all I know. So I'm just hoping somebody comes out and takes the league by storm because otherwise it's going to be a mess.
Yeah, the Pats Dolphins next week is going to be I think that's the Sunday night game.
Sunday night
Super
football.
interesting because the Pats can't go 0-2. I believe in the Pats, but they can't go 0-2. So, and you got Miami playing on a high. It'd be really interesting.
I'll put myself out there then. I don't think they will go 0-2.
Okay. You picking the Pats against the Dolphins.
Good. The Pats.
There we go.
Pats don't play well in Miami. That's their only problem.
That is true, but it's not Brady anymore. It's a new
True.
team.
It's true.
Well, Brian,
All
in
right.
the great words of Deion Sanders, play my theme music.
Jiggy on the platform.